So, if you've been following this channel the past few weeks, you know that I am somewhat late in life, attempting to catch up with the classics by reading classical tragedy, Greek and Roman, and also taking some detours to watch the film versions where they exist when I can find them on YouTube. So, after having read Oedipus the King by Sophocles from this collection, I've now watched two film versions. So I watched the 1957 version, which I reviewed, and I will link to my review of that in the description down below. But there's also a 1968 film version, which is also freely available on YouTube, at least as of this moment. I mean, who knows when it will get taken down by the copyright gods, but at the moment, it's freely available. I'll link to it in the description down below if you want to check it out. And that's the version I'm here to talk about today. So, this represents now my third time through the Oedipus the King play by Sophocles. The first time reading it out of this collection, second time watching the 1957 film version, and now watching the 1968 film version. Now, each time has been through a different translation. Two of them were movies, but the screenplay was based off of a certain translation, and each one of them was different. So I've been finding it interesting to go through this play now 3 times with different translators, because you really get a sense, I think, maybe as much as you can hope to in a foreign language, what the core elements of the play are, if that makes sense. So, like, there's different words used each time, but you see that the same sentiments are expressed each time. You get a feel for what is in each translation and what is slightly altered each time. And I feel like I'm really getting a good sense of what the story is now at this point. Now, the story is not particularly complicated. Like I mentioned in my original review of the play, there's a lot of commentary about the structure and the symbolism and the philosophy behind it, and I don't want to claim to have understood all of that. But in terms of the beats of the narrative, like who says what when, which scene follows which scene, I feel like I've really got a handle on that now. Because all 3 of these versions have been quite similar. Have been faithful to the text. So both the 1957 version and the 1968 version have followed the original play very closely. 1968 version adds in a couple flashback scenes, and it adds in a scene of Oedipus and Jocasta in bed together. Although it's, maybe because this is 1968, it's not particularly graphic. We don't see them like simulating sex or anything, just lying in bed. So it adds in Jocasta's death scene. So it adds in a few different things. And some of the scenes also seem shorter than they were in the other version. I'm thinking of the blind prophet, Tiresias. In this 1968 version, he seems to have less lines. Although I've not really gone through and compared it closely to see what, if anything, had gotten cut out. But what am I rambling on about? What was my point again? A point is all 3 versions are following the same text. So these are all fairly faithful adaptations of the text, as far as I can tell. Now, this 1968 version is much more theatrical than the 1957 version. 1957 version was filmed in a theater. It was essentially just the film version of a stage play. This is shot in location in ancient Greece, and it's making use of a much... Well, they do kind of stay in one stadium for most of the time. There's a little bit of walking around on the hills, but all the dialogue is in one stadium area. But it's, because it's on location, you do get a sense of it being a film. And of course, the flashback scenes to Laius. I should know how to pronounce that by now, shouldn't I? Oedipus's father being murdered. How did they say it? Laius? Laius? Um, and this version also stars some famous people. It's got Christopher Plummer, who is most famous for being Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music. But I always associated Christopher Plummer with being kind of the creepy old guy who shows up as a villain in a lot of the 90s movies, because that's, I guess, those were my formative years. And it wasn't, of course, until the internet and Wikipedia and IMDb that I realized Christopher Plummer was also the guy from The Sound of Music. So for someone like me who associates Christopher Plummer with being the creepy old guy in a lot of movies, I think he got cast as the villain increasingly as he got older. It's interesting to see him back when he was young and he was a leading man. I think he makes a very charismatic Oedipus here. Orson Welles plays the blind prophet Tiresias. Like I said, Tiresias seems to have fewer lines here. And again, I haven't actually gone down and analyzed the lines to see what was cut, but the Tiresias scenes just seem to be shorter in this version. Oh, and Donald Sutherland plays the leader of the chorus, although according to Wikipedia, his lines were dubbed. I guess they didn't like his voice. I have a feeling even if I didn't know that from Wikipedia, I would have suspected it, because they whoever is dubbing his voice, some guy named Valentine Dial, according to Wikipedia, does have like this deep booming voice. So they wanted like a real booming voice, a deep, serious voice for this part. The woman who plays Jocasta, I think, seems to be famous. Lily Palmer, although I've never heard of her before. This movie, according to Wikipedia, got bad reviews at the time. There's a New York Magazine review, which Wikipedia links to, and you can actually read in full, which says that it criticizes the camera work. It says everybody appears almost comical. That Christopher Plummer has to pull up his toga when he's running up and down the stairs, and they say that looks comical. They say the fact that he's being followed everywhere he goes by the chorus seems a bit comical. Wikipedia also quotes Leonard Moulton, who said, now here I can't find the whole review, I can just find the quote Wikipedia says. It says, the film version of Sophocles' play is okay for students who have a test on it the next day, but others won't appreciate this version. And then there's another review that said the film was, that's a positive review. Okay, so there were some positive reviews and some negative reviews. I liked it. I thought it was a good film version of this play. Now, I mean, it's a version of the film that is trying to be very faithful to the original play. The liberties taken are very small, I think, in the scheme of things. The sequence of events, the sequence of the dialogue, the characters, I mean, it's all following the original play. So if you're going to do that, you're under certain limitations, because the ancient what's the word I'm looking for? The ancient expectations for drama, the ancient sorry, I'm blanking on a really obvious word here. The tastes that they had, their style, the ancient style was much different than today's style. So there's a certain element of this which is always going to feel a little bit strange, which is always going to feel a little bit maybe strange and weird and comical when you try and be faithful to the original text from 2,500 years ago. But I thought this version made the play come alive more so than anything I've experienced up to this point. So more so than reading it off the page, and in my opinion, more so than the 1957 version. The translation that they're using here is a very kind of modern English translation. I mean, like it's not overly colloquial or anything like that, but the characters are talking just like normal people. And the actors are, for the most part, delivering the dialogue in a conversational way. At least the back and forth scenes. There are some scenes where they have to give speeches, and when you're giving a speech, I think you just kind of have to go into Shakespearean drama mode a little bit, because you're giving a speech. There's no way to make that sound normal and conversational. You're obviously like on a stage addressing an audience at that point, right? But I I really thought that this was the version that made me connect with the play the most so far. I think Christopher Plummer does a wonderful job of portraying a charismatic Oedipus. You can see at the beginning why he's the hero of the people, why they all love him, why he just seems like he's like the hero who I mean, I guess Greeks are famous for their tragedies, right? So in a Greek tragedy, you know the hero has got something bad coming to him. But he I mean, he almost just seems like such a strong-willed character at the beginning, that it's hard to believe he's going to wind up in tragedy, which I guess makes you feel it all the more when he does. Um, yeah, the location was very nice. I thought the flashback to the Laios's death scene, even though it wasn't in the original play, worked in the context of the movie. Christopher Plummer did a very good job of portraying the emotions when Oedipus finds out who he really is. Something that I thought was underwritten in the original play. I mean, what do I know? But like when I was reading the original play, I think I even said this in my review. When Oedipus finally finds out who he actually is, the emotions on the page just don't really seem to convey anything. But Christopher Plummer, acting that same dialogue, does a good job of portraying it. Jocasta, his wife slash mother, comes to the realization earlier than he does. And here, I don't know, here maybe I thought like the 1957 version, I thought the Jocasta's final scenes was better done maybe in that version. But it was still fine in this version. Yeah. So I don't really have that much intelligent to say about this. I mean, this is the third time now I've gone through the same story, the same play, the same dialogue, albeit with a different translator each time. So I'm running out of intelligent things to say about it. But this was a fine movie. It was well acted. The dialogue was delivered in what I thought was a good way that made the story come to life. I think I really got a sense of like, this isn't like some old dusty classic. This is, you can feel like these are real people as you're watching this movie. So it gets full marks from me. I don't care what the New York Magazine or Leonard Maltin said about it. I liked it fine. I mean, it's of course is a very tragic play, and the end scene in which Oedipus is parted from his children, which I knew was coming because it's been in all the versions so far, and again, that's the advantage, I guess, of watching it three times through, or three different versions of it, is you're able to anticipate the story a little bit. That was a very downer note to end on, but then that's the kind of play it is, isn't it? I'm glad I saw it, and I'm glad I'm glad I took the time to watch these film versions. One of the reasons it's taken me so long between these film versions is because I have so little time to myself these days. Working a lot, have two kids, etc. So I was watching this in 10-minute chunks before bed every night, and this evening, I had a little bit of time, so I finished up the last bit of it by watching 40 minutes at once. So I have found it difficult to make the time, but I'm glad I did make the time. Okay, so next, on to the next play in this book, which is Antigone, also by Sophocles, which is kind of a sequel to Oedipus, except Antigone was apparently written first. So Oedipus was the prequel that came after Antigone. And Antigone is a reread for me. This is the one play I actually did read in high school because it was part of my high school English curriculum. I don't know why they had us read Antigone instead of Oedipus, because in order to understand Antigone, the teacher pretty much had to explain the whole backstory behind Oedipus to us anyways. It would have made more sense for them to just start off with Oedipus. But anyways, all that is off topic. I'll save that for another day when I talk about Antigone, and I will finish off here.